So tell me, Mikayla, would you describe the stages or areas focused on in a typical life guide plans or series of sessions? So if I came to you and I was a little bit midlife crisis-y and I'm like, I really don't know where to go in my life. What would be the plan? How would it kind of work?
So it's trying to work out whether you want to get to the symptoms, the root cause, or what exactly did you want from it. So really
I
tailor it
want,
to what.
want to know, I suppose I probably want to know what's going on with me, but I also want to plan to move forward. How do I get out of my rut and how do I kind of plan a future? What do I want to, how to work out what I want to do.
Mm. And that's where I'd go back to the basics. So you're the one that's got to figure out what you got to do. I can help you get to sort of there, but you're the one. I can't say to you, like you say, if you were a teenager, go and be a doctor. Well, I don't want to be. Okay, so what else are we going to do? So I really try and go back to you having control of yourself. So if you're feeling frustrated with where you are, is it because you don't know where you want to go? Or is it because you're not happy with where you are? So why aren't you happy with where you are? What control have you got? So if it's the kids at you because you're a mom and you've got the teenagers and you just don't have any time for yourself, you've got to try and figure it out and fit that time in. So each session is different. So the teenagers you deal with differently because they're on a different journey. They're on the different part of their life and they can't think too far forward, but things are happening around them. When you get to a certain age where you're just like, look, I've got most things are right, but now what? What's my life purpose? What's my goal? I've spent years going, what is it? What is it? What is it?
Mm-hmm.
An interesting quote that really did just come to me the other day, and I know it, we all know the quotes, but suddenly when you get what a quote means, you go, oh, I get that. Is that when your dreams become your reality. So what
Mm-hmm.
I'd say is if you had a dream to be where you are, like did you have the dream to be where you are with the house, the kids, or whatever it is, and now you're in the reality, you always constantly want more though. So that's why you're wanting more, but you still got to appreciate where you are, as simple as that sounds as well. So why are you unhappy? Figure that bit out. Figure out what is going to give you the happiness, which is that delving into yourself. Figure out, is it a future goal you're looking for, or are you living in the past because you think you wanted something that you don't want anymore, and dreams change and things? Or is it because, as I said, you're living the reality of the dream you thought you wanted, but now it might not be what you want. I know I've sort of just thrown a bunch of stuff out there, but it's really working out what each person wants and where they're at.
Yeah, no,
So
that makes sense. So, what is the biggest challenge you've helped a client through? Is there one particular one that's memorable?
there was, and I did write it down, and I do apologize. Let me try and think about it because now we're
It's
so
okay.
off topic with so many things. I'm like,
I
hold on
know,
a sec.
sorry.
What question was that again?
It
Oh,
was
seven.
number 7.
The biggest one that came to me when I read that, what the question was, is it a specific example or is it more about, and for me it's definitely, as I've said, recently dealing with the teenagers and early 20s, is them figuring out who they are. That has been the biggest challenge, and not to be influenced by other people, because they've had the influence of their parents, which is fine. They've got the influence of the people around them at school and their teachers and that, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, what now? Where am I? Why am I not happy? What am I striving for? This something that my parents wanted me to strive for, but I don't know if that's what I want to be striving for. Now, we've got a lot more freedom than the teenagers now do than they ever did, but it's almost too much more freedom because they're like, well, I've got as many options as I want, and they can't narrow it down. So to me, one of the biggest things has been them figuring out who they are and what it is that they want without being influenced by the social media, the what other people think.
Cool. So, what is your chaos to calm mantra all about? And do you incorporate this into your life coaching for people as well? Is that kind of
I
like a central theme or something?
I, I do, because it's controlling the chaos up here. So it's controlling your chaos, which is the chaos around you, but it's also the internal chaos you create. One of the longest,
What?
wow, I took off my hands again. One of the longest journeys, which is the shortest one, but the longest one you'll ever take, is from your head to your heart. So we're so busy overthinking, we're so busy doing the doing that we don't know why we're doing the doing. But if we are busy, then therefore we're doing things. And the hardest thing is to actually sit down and go, I can stop for a bit. I can relax. I can figure out who I am. It is worth spending the time to figure out who I am. The amount of people who get to the end of the day and all they've done is done everything for everybody else. They've gone to work, they've done this, they've done all of that. They haven't spent a single moment by themselves.
Mm.
It's that finding the calm, but you can't. One meditation or a practice that I do is when, and I've been in that state. I've been in the oh my gosh state where you're so frazzled you just don't even know where to put yourself.
Yeah.
And one of the techniques, which is not mine, but I think it's even from the heart math, is to get your pulse and sync your breathing to your heartbeat. And it takes so much effort, especially when you're in one of those states, that that's the only thing you can focus on. So instead of trying to sit there and meditate and I'm calm, don't think of any thoughts, I'm not thinking of anything, oh, look, I've got to go do such and such. I mean, we constantly do that. But when you're too frazzled, you can't even get to any calm state. So try and get people to just like literally take a breath to respond instead of react to a situation. That's definitely something I teach people. And also to one of the techniques, as I said, is to get out of your head, is
Mm-hmm.
to connect to your heart by doing that, by just the one thing, focusing on your breathing and trying. When you do that, you slow your heartbeat down because you're now going, oh, my heart is racing quite fast. My mind is also on so many topics, I can't even focus on one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And no wonder I'm not breathing because, well, it's shallow or it's too deep or you're just not breathing properly because it's just not your focus. So I
Yeah.
just bring your focus back to the absolute plain core of your basics. Um, so yeah, bringing calm is, well, actually trying to reduce some of the chaos is huge. And it was something I had to learn. This isn't something I'm just teaching. It's like I had to actually go through this. I had to go through that to go, oh, it's that simple, but it's not. And you've got to put the practice in to get to me being in control of me.
Yes.
And I'm the A-type personality who likes things in control, but it's not about being in control, but it is about being in control at the same time. It's about you knowing you to know how you want to respond in a situation. So
Yeah. Spot
that
on.
the longest journey, the head to the heart.
Yes. When you look back at your life guiding history with clients, what are the common issues or the goals that they raise to you? I suppose I'm looking for symptoms here, so which are kind of maybe anyone listening to this might be able to say, "Oh, yeah, I kind of whinge about that," and maybe I need to go and check out something similar. So,
Is blaming everybody else for how you feel, is taking on what's around you
hmm
and making it your own. It's blaming everybody else um, for the way things are.
lack of
Um,
responsibility, then, yeah.
yeah. And like I said, some people have had some sucky experiences, and that's not their fault, but it's like, okay, so you've had the sucky experience that's in the past. When you keep reliving it and keep talking about it, you
Mm,
keep making it in the present. So if you want the future to change, you've got to let that baggage go. You've got to let the past go, but you need to learn from that at the same time. And this was something I really struggled with. Well, how do you set your goals forward? How do you strive for something when you're supposed to be in the present moment but learn from the past, which is what I've said before. Like, so
mm,
it's that, even that simple concept. So I think the main challenges people have is trying to keep up with the Joneses, is
mm,
doing what other people think they should be doing, and really forgetting that this is what you've got and you can change. I mean, everyone's heard about The Secret now and watched the movie, or it's not such a secret anymore, but some of those basic fundamentals were there, and you can expand on those, and I get that, but some of the basic fundamentals were there, though, that you can't want something different, but when you're still using the talk of it's my life is bad, I don't like what's happening, then that's what you'll get more of. So it's very much not reliving the past and trying to still have those goals, but realize that the control, what you have right now, is the present.
Yes, that's exactly right. So how have you had a life guide or a coach yourself, and if so, did they how do they help you? What kind of put you on the right track with them, or is this all you?
During a sort of when I did a life coaching session, it was very much, I felt regimented. We had to follow. So I want you to give me 10 things you want, so that we can then do this list of 10 things, so that we can work out what you want to be good at. And I was like, oh, this is way too regimented for me. Yeah, so it was very much, and I get what the point of it was, which is why I think there should be some structure with the session, so that people have an expectation of what they're going to get out of it, but at the same time is going with the flow of what the client wants at the time as well. So it's a very fine line between dealing with pain to then get to the healing side of things. So sometimes you've got to raise the issues, but do you dwell on them? But then also, if it's too regimented, people are like, but you're not listening to me. Like, don't just tell me something. Give me something, like, where can we go from this? It's that long-term focus as well as where you currently are. There's no point in me giving a strategy when someone's just not in the frame of mind to hear it. Like, so if they want to come for a whinge and something has happened, that's fine. So you go through that session with them then, but there's no point talking about life goals and then next time that situation happens, let's do cognitive behavioral therapy and we'll focus on it this way. They're like, what? So it's very much listening to what's happening with them at the time and what you think. It's not just a set format for me. I've spent the time to get that knowing, the deep sense of knowing what does this person want at this time. So I mean, I read tarot cards and I do all of that as well. So it's that, and I don't mean to say that it's that psychic ability, but it's that getting to know the other person, picking up on what their energy is to what they actually want at that time as well, and tuning in to what they need. Yeah. So did that actually answer what your question was, Emma? How do I? I know it was me life coaching.
You talked about the strategy and like how regimented it was. So that I think that's a good point. So what training did you undergo to become a lifeguard? Was this the Tony Riley stuff that you went through?
No, not so much that. I've always been on that journey of, and I've really reflected on this as to, was there one specific thing? Was there one course that I did? Was there one thing? And I really do put it down to the accumulation of using myself as a test subject, like I said, to get over the asthma. Well, if I could do that, and if I change my viewpoint of carrying all the beliefs that I had as a kid, what if I got rid of that belief? Was something else going to change? And I just kept asking the questions. And then so research, read books, but I've also studied, and so cognitive behavioral therapy, energy healing, all about your meridians, etc., kinesiology, neurolinguistic programming. I've done some psychic courses, learning, read tarot cards, using your clair senses, and just
so you've kind of developed your own modality, but you've also specialized in certain techniques that are out there, like kinesiology and So and then basically when you assess a client, whichever modality suits them, you then use the associated technical, depending on what their need is. Oh, that's great. Yeah. You probably
I've
start
got
with CBT though, I'd imagine, to start with, just to assess it all.
Well, yeah,
So,
you've got to start somewhere and you've got to learn various things. So, like, I've got some people just aren't into, say, tarot cards, which is fine. And, I literally had comments, I don't even want to touch the deck because, oh, there's a death card in there and that's going to bring death. No, that's not quite right. And yet I've done readings for other people and they have literally just been in tears. I make them hold a crystal. Well, I don't make them hold a crystal. I offer crystals and I say, if you'd like to hold one during the session, you're more than welcome to. And it's really interesting to watch them really play with it. Whether they're into crystals or not, that's not the point. They really do play with it. And I have found number of times I'll just get a feeling I need to say a certain something, which is the whole point of the tarot. You're not really reading the pictures, it's the feel that you get. And I'll say a certain something and it was so resonating with them at the time that not only are they in tears, they'll actually like literally drop the crystal and go, oh my God, why did I drop that? And I went, what did I just say? Because I think that's what you really need to hear, sort of thing. So it's that really getting in touch with what do people want. So some people like the angel cards as opposed to, say, tarot cards, and that's just simplifying it, but it's that, what does the person want at the time, not just me lecturing them, me talking to them, me giving them techniques. What are they coming here for? And it's me tapping into what do they want?
yes,
What are
yes,
they getting from this? Yeah.
that makes sense. So, is there a myth associated with what you do that you'd like to dispel? I notice when I talk to a lot of people who are kind of in the alternate areas, there's always some myth being built up about them, like, for example, tarot, the devil's card, and all that, where really it's new beginnings, the death card. But it's, yeah, to most
A
people,
new
they.
chapter, and yeah, exactly.
So is there another myth that you'd like to actually just say, look, this is bumpkus? Hmm.
I think the one myth, I don't know if you'd necessarily call it a myth. I think it's the people are searching for one solution. People are searching for, like, you go to the doctor, is there one medication that's going to fix everything? Can I just take a
Magic pill.
tablet?
Don't you? Don't,
Mm,
that isn't there a magic pill?
it's that's what I think the myth sort of is. So what, I have to do some work? Why couldn't you just tell me everything will be okay? Yeah,
Mm.
no, it doesn't quite work that way. So I think the myth is you still got to put the effort in. You still got to do the doing. You still got to go and take that walk in nature if that's what it takes to go and calm you down. You still got to do the doing. Even referring back to The Secret, you can't just wish for that car to magically appear in the driveway. You've got to be taking action and
I'm,
energy.
I'm manifesting a Porsche in the drive at the moment. It's
Yeah,
almost
how's
there,
it going for
up
you?
to the bonnet and the windscreen. So,
So I think the myth is, and whether it's the tarot reading or whether it's a coaching session, whatever, that you're going to pull that magic card out that's going to say, oh, you're going to win lotto next week. Oh, and that would solve everything. Well,
that'd be nice.
it's yeah. So I think the myth is that it's not one thing, which is why studying the modalities that I did, studying the various things, and then I was brought up more Christian, but it wasn't forced on me or anything, but it wasn't sitting with me, and I was like, well, why isn't it sitting with me? So, and I started looking at other things, and I was like, what? Hold on, do you know how many religions light candles? Well, why are they lighting candles? Oh, there's actually quite a connection between all of these, and what is this? And so that was the questions I was asking, and hence why it's not just one modality. And that's why I don't think it's just, here, if I give you an energy healing session, everything will be fine, you'll be right, moving forward, you're all good to go. The client, the patient, everybody has to put in the work.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's like a junior in the office. You can't be the boss until you've done the groundwork, until you've got to earn to be that. And that's the thing. So I'd say that sort of, I don't know if it's necessarily the myth, but I think it's what people are, they want the quick, fast solution.
Yes, definitely. Yeah,
Mm.
it's like they want to lose weight, but they don't want to eat vegetables, or they don't want to
Well,
eat.
I have to watch what I eat. Surely
Still want to
yes,
eat
no,
that cheeseburger every day. So yeah.
yes. So you can take the diet pills that suppress your appetite, and guess what? They keep you awake at night too. So then we'll take a sleeping tablet so I can go to sleep. And
Mm.
there isn't just that one, as you said, the magic pill, the magic solution. There isn't one modality that works for you, works for one person. It's drawing from, actually, that was interesting. That was interesting. going back to what you said about climate change, well, I've read that article, so does that sit with me? Is that the truth? Or actually, if I read this one, and if I look at it this way, and if I look at it from a different country, what are they doing differently? And it's just a journey, and you've got to keep learning and growing.
Yeah, it's well, as I said, with the climate change thing, when I did the research, there are issues, there are legitimate issues with the environment on Earth. However, the culprits or the bad guys aren't necessarily the people that they're pointing at. That's what I kind of came to. And also the extent of the damage isn't as great as being, told to us. So, but then I think people only react when you say extreme things, and that's why this is why we've got all these climate change extremists now screaming at the top of their lungs ridiculous percentages. But what I think they're missing is if you keep screaming at the top of your lungs, it's the whole, and people find out that you're telling furphies. The next time you want to actually warn people about something, it won't be taken as true. So I think but same with this sort of thing too. So yeah.
And here's more of a sort of question than a statement than anything, but the amount of religions that follow one book, the Bible, and you go, well, when was it written? Who wrote it?
Who translated?
Who translated it? How many versions are there? And do some religions just follow the Old Testament? Some follow the New? And you go, hold on, I'm confused. And you all supposedly follow this one book. So even asking those questions is interesting.
I mean, and even if you compare the Bible to, say, the Quran hasn't changed at all. At least the Bible has been updated in certain sections over the last 500 years. The Quran is still in its original context, which was over 1,000 years ago. And so, yeah, when things get halted in time and society moves on, you need to adjust, some of the, to the current situation. I mean, and religions don't. So, well, no religion that I know, or cult. I like to refer to them all as cults these days. Very controversial. Once it's controversial, and two, if you look at, I once read the definition of a cult, and seriously, it sounds like a religion. Go look it up in the dictionary. Any dictionary, look at cult, and I defy you to tell me that's not the definition for most religions. And I'm not picking out any particular religion here. They're all the same as far as I know. They all have dogma. They all have rules, which are ridiculous rules. They all cover up things, and they all oppress. So.
Well, last time I was in church, I literally got told, and much as it's a song, but I got told that I had to bow down and I was a sinner, and the only way forward was to believe and, accept God into my heart and stuff. And I thought, hold on a sec, how dare you call me a sinner and I have to bow down to who? So like I said, I know it's just sort of a song, but that didn't sit with me.
No,
I always rebelled.
I do believe that there's a being, a creational being, and I pray and I talk to them. I don't feel I have to follow a doctrine. I just have to be a good person, and I have to talk with whoever this creator person is, and I have to lead a good life. I mean,
that's it, in your own backyard, and what are you doing? And that's what I've done. I've just asked the questions. Well, hold on a sec, is there more to this? Is there more to this? You're supposedly all reading this one book, but the books, the Bible is varied a number of times and whatever else. So what is this one thing that you're supposed to be following by? And so it was just asking those questions. What if there's something else? As you said, there's the Quran out there. Well, hold on a sec, what if Buddhism sits in the middle? What does that say? What is this? And I think it's more just asking those questions. And same with the coaching session. So if something happened, well, that's your view on it. But what if that person was in this state and that's how they viewed it? Can you see their point of view? Oh, well, yeah, I guess I can now. So who's right? Does it matter? Like, what if? Just keep asking those questions without being No, narrow-minded probably isn't quite right, but as in, no, but this is the way forward.
Yeah.
This is what I want. So that it to me, it's opening up in those coaching sessions to say, look, just be open to, is there something else? Whether you believe or not, just see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I've got issues with all religions, to be honest. I mean, I look at the like the Catholic and the Anglican religions, and I have a serious problem with the Catholicism and the way that they have not allowed the priests to take a wife. I
Mm,
think that has perpetuated pedophilia in their ranks significantly, and you know, so and the fact that they don't let women into the priesthood. The Anglicans are learnt; they have wives and they have they have women deacons and
mm,
priests now.
mm,
I actually converted to Anglican because I kind of identified more with that before my wedding and all my kids. But then since then, I've kind of moved on from all religions. But then I look at the Quran, and they're still preaching about Muhammad, who took a 6-year-old called Asha to be his wife and then had sex with her at 9. That's pedophilia in my book. And in modern times, that would be seen as child abuse.
mm,
So let's move on, guys.
mm,
Stop preaching this. Stop preaching that as that's a good thing when it's obviously not 2019. And let's let the priests marry people.
mm.
And there's a lot of things which should be updated in my view in all of these religions. I mean, then you look at like things like that Scientology. I mean, did you know that was based on a science fiction book? Seriously. Seriously. I I look
See,
at that.
this is just a whole different topic, and I've even stood where Muhammad ascended to heaven or whatever they called it, and of course it's right next to the Wailing Wall, which is where the
With
Jewish go
yeah,
in. So, uh,
yeah, don't get me started on the Jewish and Greek Orthodox. I mean, there's a lot of chauvinistic kind of stuff in the Greek Orthodox world, which is yeah, I can't pinpoint anything in particular. I had a friend that was Greek Orthodox, and there were certain events if I went to with him, I wasn't allowed in the same area as other
mm,
people. And I'm thinking, what the hell, And it was all based on the fact that I was female, and I'm thinking, come on, it's how many years has to pass before you
mm,
realise that this is not anymore. You can still have your religion, but just update a few of the dumber rules. Or, I mean, it's like that's what happens with the law. Precedents happen, they're challenged. Old laws are
mm,
challenged, and they're changed. And this is why the law of the land should always overrule religious law, in my opinion, in any country. Um, because at least laws of the land are amended, challenged, and for over time. For example, in England, it was okay to beat your wives up until 1985. Did you know that?
mm.
There was a
Oh, there's some crazy rules and various things. There's one in Australia. I'm just racking my brain, and it was the bizarrest rule that was written years ago, which doesn't make sense, and you could only have so many of something. I mean, I don't know, can't rack my head over it, but some rule that you're right, no one had challenged it because it hadn't
yeah,
come up, and then suddenly they went, actually, that's really archaic.
yes, and that's a good thing about our law system. It can
Mm,
be challenged. The precedent is set. Law is changed. But that doesn't seem to happen in religion, does it? And that's why I think that there's always these problems. They basically it's the doctrine, it's a sacred text. It can still be a sacred text, but they need to adjust it to the current societal I mean, there's also, I mean, I believe in some places in the Middle East, their homosexuality doesn't exist.
mm,
I'm told. I'm sure it does, of course,
mm, mm,
and they actually think it's nothing to throw a homosexual off the top of a building and kill them.
mm. Yeah.
That's barbaric.
Mm.
I
Oh.
I don't know what particular religion that is actually. Someone was telling me about it. I was on a live stream to London, and they were
Mm,
saying, this is happening in Saudi Arabia at this moment. And I said, so when I say I don't know which religion it is, like it's
mm.
obviously one
No,
of the
no.
Islamic religions, but I don't know. Do you know how they have?
Mm.
It's you have very strict Islamic,
Different branches of them.
and I don't know enough about that particular religion to quote it, but I know in Saudi Arabia that they do seem to have a stricter version of Islamic law, or they follow it because the women have only just. Oh, well, that was a bit of a glimmer, wasn't it? They this year
Can
or last
drive.
year
Is
they
that
can
it?
now drive. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
but other places they've been able to drive for a long time. So it's kind of that sort of thing that I don't know enough of to really be an authority or an expert on or to give. But it's obvious when you start to hear things like that that, yeah, come on, guys, we need to update a few things here. We need to
Well,
kind of bring it into the 80s.
which is interesting though, because having a discussion with my teenager who I'm teaching to drive, if I was to tell her that she's not allowed to drive, it just wouldn't even occur to her. Like, what do you mean I can't drive just because I'm a woman? Like, what? I mean, yeah, that's how she was brought up. I mean, as in, we're equal. So that's just where we are and where we live, which is a good thing. But as I said, I could not imagine what she would say if I was to say, no, you're not allowed to drive. It would be different if you'd grown up knowing that that was the culture. Like, don't get me wrong, but yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
no concept of how some people have got it really hard.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of challenges happening at the moment. I mean, I know in England there's a challenge at the moment because for the last 20 years, LGBT education has been part of the primary school, secondary school education. So you're taught about it. So basically, if you go, so if you meet a child which has two mums or two dads, it's not a shock to the system. If you come from a typical, stereotypical family. And however, in Birmingham, in England, they've now got probably a large percentage of is it Islamic, the religion, or is it Islamic people? Is they worship Islam? I don't know what you call it. I don't actually know what the name of the proper religion is. I haven't done enough research on it. But the whole school, the parents protested having their children taught about LGBT.
Yeah.
Again, another thing that should be brought into the current century is how they dismiss LGBT. That type, or they see them as not as inferior, I suppose. And in certain places, they throw them off roofs, which isn't very good. So they force the school system by saying they're not going to have their children attend the school if they don't. And because that's the majority of the kids in the school in this area, they'd have no school basically. So they've actually removed it, but now the LGBT community are up in arms. So you can't please. So who do you please? It's like,
yeah,
so
you
a
can't
lot
please
of,
everyone. No.
yeah. And what's going to happen is that's kind of like having it challenged, a precedent challenge. And in that case, I think they actually went the wrong way. I don't think the school system should have given in. I think they should have just said, if you don't want your kid to come to school that afternoon, then keep them home. Or they can sit out of the course or something. It doesn't have to be a mandatory thing. I'm sure there was a better way of handling that, But again, I don't know.
Yeah, pass.
Too hard basket, hey. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. I mean, it's different. It really depends what's being taught too, doesn't it? I mean, if it's just like a book which shows occasionally there'll be two mums and two dads instead of the stereotypical nuclear family, then I don't think there's any harm in that. If, however, it's like what they were educating them on in Victoria, did you see that in Safe Schools program? Did you see that stuff? They were teaching.
Yes.
Yeah, that was. Then I'd have to object.
And
So
then this is interesting, as you said, so freedom of speech, so that's your opinion, and the parents gave their opinion at the school in the UK, and yeah, pass, I'm sorry.
I know.
Where do you start? And
I'm
then
kind
do
of
you
glad
have male and
Yeah, I'm just kind of glad in that situation I'm agnostic and not
and
gay.
yeah, and even do you have male and female toilets? Are they all going to be
Oh,
unisex now? I mean, so
mm,
even the basic function of going to the toilet raises issues,
do you know,
let alone the other challenges.
I think out of all of them, that's the one that I probably has come closest to affecting me. Um, I remember back when I was quite shy when I was in, still at school, my first few years in my teens. So the fact that a boy could be changing in the same room, in fact,
Mm.
right next to me, I'm sorry, that wouldn't work. I'm sorry, that would
I
affect
I
me.
I don't want to walk into a toilet and see a guy at a urinal and me go into a cubicle and we're all sharing the same space. Look, yeah,
Yeah,
pass, pass.
yeah, yeah. No, I think there is. Do you know what I don't get though? Why there's such a hubbub about this? There is a male toilet, there is a female toilet, and there is the handicap toilet, which can become the transgender because apparently there's only like 0.2% of the population is transgender. So can't they just share the handicap toilet? I mean,
So
it's
it's a
already there.
question. Are you allowed to use the handicap toilet when there isn't a handicapped
Every
person waiting?
everybody does. Let's face it. If there's
Mm,
lights in the other toilets, everybody bunks into the handicap one. I've done that at least 3 times in my life
I
and got
have been,
embarrassed once.
yeah, well, I was going to say, and someone pulled me up once and said, "How dare you use that toilet? Because that's just for me." And I was like, "Oh, you're right. It was free. Yeah." And I got told what for. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I
well,
don't know what the right thing is.
well, I got told as I was leaving the last time. I haven't used it since, I have to admit. But and the guy said, "Oh, that's just for handicapped people." I said, "Yeah, but I was busting and I had to go, and the queue was really large over here, so I'm not going to apologise. You weren't here then, and
Yeah.
what is it so bad to have to wait? I've had to wait my entire life to go to the toilet. What you had to wait
Mm,
what, 2 seconds, 10 seconds?
mm,
So I just think if there's if it's there, why wouldn't you use it? I don't particularly want to use it. It was only in a situation where I was
yeah.
literally had to go, and I would have wet myself had I not.
Yeah.
So in that
Yeah.
situation, I don't think you have to apologize. That's just a human thing. But like if there's the option to use a girl's toilet, I would just go and use a girl's
Mm.
toilet. It's not like I chose to use
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not like a plot. Let's go, let's go.
From scheming.
It's not a pre-planned thing. It's just basic. Oh my God, I can't believe there's a queue again. My husband tried to explain to me how they assign toilets at stadiums. He's a quantity surveyor, and
Right.
even after he gave me quite legitimate reasons for their stuff, I still said, there's still never enough. I'm sorry, there is still never enough toilets,
No,
and
because you all go at the same time. It's like when you're at a conference or something, there's a break, so you all go. And it's when, yeah,
yeah.
okay, we were convening for lunch. What do you got to do? So exactly, it's the timing.
I have a girlfriend who has never waited to go to the toilet ever because you know where she goes? The men.
Bush? Oh, the men.
Seriously, I will queue and she'll come up and say, "Oh shit, I can't believe there's another queue," and she'll just go straight into the men's, and she'll be back out, and I'll just be looking at it, and I'll still be in the queue waiting. I just can't. I don't know. Every time I've ever peeked into a men's toilet or anything, it's always so messy. What the hell are they doing
That's
there?
what I'm thinking.
It's not a stereotype thing. It is literally I don't know how it gets that way, but there's always rubbish on the floor and no one cleans. I don't know. It's anyway, that's my impression. So that's another reason I don't want to share a toilet. It'll probably get really messy really quickly. And when I was going to Europe, I had to use one of those Paris ones where it's like in the middle of the street,
Yes,
like
yes. Don't
there's
open the doors on me. Make sure they stay locked. One of those ones. Yeah.
And I was just thinking, oh my God, this is awful. And after I got in and realized that there was still a bit open here and there, I just got back out and held it and went back to the hotel. I just couldn't use them. I just said, no, it's awful. And everything about them smelled awful and looked awful and oh. And then
I'm constantly looking at the light that says locked, locked, instead of, going green, it's open.
the worst place though was London because you had to pay. You had to actually
Yeah.
pay to go to the toilet. And like I think I was at a one of the museums, beautiful museum, and I just spent, I think, about $40, £40 to get into this museum. And then I
Mm.
went to the toilet and there's a guy in there expecting money.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I just paid
And,
$40 and you can't cover this dude's wage.
but have
Yeah.
you been to the ones where they've actually got the toilet roll as well, and you get issued your few pieces? So
No,
especially around, yeah, around Europe, you'd get that, and they'd be like, "Here's your 3 pieces." Really? I just paid, and I'm allowed 3 pieces of paper as well.
that wouldn't do much. It depends what you're doing.
I was going to say, when I was backpacking, you've always got tissues or something. And my
Yeah.
husband and I went to India for 6 months, and yeah, we actually carried toilet paper with us. So.
Oh, yes, you would. You would. Um, I know when I went in Ireland, they told us because we were doing some trekking, we carried toilet roll that day. You know, we had
Mm.
to put it in our backpacks, and 'cause you had to find a tree or a bush or something. So,
I've buried it in Africa. Oh, I tell you, I've been all sorts. Oh yeah, when we were at Land Safari, there was shovels in the door, and if you needed to go, you had to grab a shovel and you had to bury.
yes, I've fertilized most of Europe. I don't know about you. I haven't fertilized the US, but I have done Canada and Alaska. So, anyway, enough of that. So our last question.
Oh
So
right, sorry.
that's the last one. So do you have any advice for people who might want to get into this area of life coaching and guiding?
Um, my initial thoughts when I read that question was,
Don't do
be,
it.
uh,
I'm
no,
joking.
it isn't. No, I know. It's important not to take on other people's energy. You have to be at a place where you can, like a doctor to a certain extent, as in, yes, you're there, you consult, you help the person, but
Mhm.
when you stay attached to them and get directly involved, it can have an impact on you. So it's really important to, before the session, make sure you're not bringing what's happened in your day or into the session. It's about the person, and then you've got to let it go when they've left. So you've got to be open to be able to connect with a client,
Mhm.
and then remove that connection though, or you will burn out though, because you will be, I mean, I lose sleep over various things, and if I'm worried about someone, etc., and we've all got family things to deal with anyway, so
Mm.
it's knowing yourself before you can help other people as well, is what I would also say. And ask lots of questions, but of yourself, and even what we've just talked about here. What if ask, is my belief, is what I've even learned, am I open to learning other things? Because that's what it's about, is it's learning more things as well, tapping into what you already know as well. So the one thing I would say is you've really got to know yourself and then be able to disconnect, which would be the sum of it. Be able to connect and then disconnect when the session's over.
That makes sense.